I scoop him up and I pick him up. I think at the time he was around 200 pounds. I'm standing there and I'm picking him up. And Sean, as soon as I do, my life changed. Whew. I knew at that moment what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life.
Hey to all my Mutter family, my OCR brothers and sisters, to you hearing my voice, listening to this podcast right now. You know that you're my peeps also, and I am your mirror man and host of Tough Mudder's No Excuses podcast, Sean Corvell. More Heart Than Scars is a non-profit organization founded by Zackary Paben in the summer of 2012. Their mission is to help people with physical, mental, or emotional scars realize they can live beyond them. One of the ways they achieve this is by preparing and assisting adaptive athletes to traverse Tough Mudder obstacle courses as a metaphor for taking on life challenges and achieving goals through fitness, training, and community. They've been featured on the show Returning the Favor with Mike Rowe, as well as numerous other media publications. And you can find more information about the organization on their website, moreheartsthanscars.org, where you can also join the team, volunteer, or make a donation. Since 2012, the More Hearts Than Scars organization has been inspiring the Tough Mudder community with their team of adaptive athletes overcoming obstacles and conquering challenges in their lives, both on and off the course. We talk with the founder of MHTS, Zackary Paben, and the OCR director, head of their Georgia chapter, Joey McGlamorg, and they tell us about the creation of More Heart Than Scars, their personal story and experience with some of their adaptive athletes, the growth and vision of the organization, and how to have more heart than scars in your life. But yeah, this has been a long time coming. You and I have been talking about this for a while. And the way I've seen More Hearts and Scars grow now is just warms my heart. It's tremendous. United me when we last saw each other at our last Tough Mudder event. So I'm so happy I could have you and Joey both on here. Let's start from the beginning. Tell people what More Hearts Than Scars is.
Well, it originally came out, we were Team Nubs and Stubs. I heard that you weren't the main voice on the first one that came out in 2012, but you were on the end of it. You said, "I'm loving these mothers up in here." You were at the end of the video, patting everybody on this. The first video that came out, and I watched that, and I saw it, and I started looking you up and go like, I'm going to meet that guy. So, because there were so many videos of you in the start line, because when everybody would be showing, there was that one guy that had the whole thing tattooed on his back, Ray, I think, or something. He had the whole creed of, of doing a Tough Mudder. And it was big and tattooed on his back. And I was watching those things. I thought, I think I should do a Tough Mudder, but I was chickening out. So I meet Billy Costello, who is he was a new amputee. He lost his leg in Afghanistan, and his hand also got blown up. So he had a pin sticking out of his finger. And I was lifeguarding, doing an extra job because my daughter had a heart condition. And so I was having to lifeguard, work at the girls' children's home that I was at, and also doing construction to be able to pay for her health insurance. And so I see this redheaded, like cool looking guy, coming in to get his leg off and jumping in the pool. But then I saw his hand and I said, "Hey, can I look at your hand? Because I haven't seen a pin in a finger since he looked at my hands." And so that's my worst memory. That's my absolute worst memory, and I haven't seen it since. And so I took a look at his finger and said, "Okay, I didn't throw up. This is good." And he goes, "All right." And so we started talking. He goes, "Hey, we should probably do a Tough Mudder." I was like, "Oh man, my excuses are starting to they were going away." So I was like, "Well, when?" And so that was going to be October 27th, 2012. And we were thinking of names. And so I tried to come up with the most ridiculous name I could think of. Maybe I could get out of it. So I came up with, well, we could be, Nubs and Stubs. He goes, "Perfect. I'll make a t-shirt." And he's this Green Beret guy. I didn't even know he was a Green Beret. Just an amazing operator across his board, an incredible human being, so humble, and just to the point, he's like, "I'll make a t-shirt." So he made a t-shirt of the perfect man, the Da Vinci guy. So he's got the the missing, the arms are out and the legs are out. And it's the perfect man, except he had an artist, remove part of the hand and one of the legs. And that was Team Nubs and Stubs.
That's perfect.
So, but we thought to soften it. I was lifeguarding, and I had a lot of time to watch empty pools in the morning that nobody was swimming. I even have a sketch pad that I was like, just doodling because no one was in the pool. I wrote Team Nubs and Stubs, and at the bottom, more heart than scars. And that came from thinking about my little girl, thinking about Snow Lily, thinking about, the co-founder of the charity is Wendy. We used to be married, Wendy Paben and I, and we had our daughter Snow Lily. And we found out about her bicuspid aortic valve disorder. We didn't know if one day she was going to have a surgery to correct that or what would happen. And I didn't want her to be afraid of that and to be ashamed of scars. Like I used to be so ashamed of my hands and kept my hands in my pockets. So that's the background. And then we went to that race, and there we were going up Everest, and you saw that T-shirt, and you took a double take. You looked at that thing, you're like, Team Nubs and Stubs, and we were making a pyramid and climbing up the thing, and yelling out. I was like, all right, goal met. I thought I was helping Billy at the first race. Patient zero, if there is such thing, of patient zero of more heart than scars, is not Billy. It's me. I was in a funk. I was depressed. I was shut down. I wasn't sure what I was going to do about between my kids. Wendy and I were struggling then. Came to a head eventually. So I was struggling. I wasn't sure what to do. And I thought I was helping Billy. That is not the case.
And what I like what you're saying about this too is that with More Hearts Than Scars, when we see you guys out there with the team, you're helping adaptive athletes. We see people in wheelchairs, people with blades, physical problems, but you also talk about the invisible problems that people are out there that are on the team and that are out there on the course. Real quick, Joey. Now, Joey, I knew you through Blind Pete. That was how I was introduced to you. You were out assisting a gentleman that the OCR world knows as Blind Pete because he's blind and his name is Pete. And you would assist him along the course. But what was your introduction to More Hearts Than Scars?
Well, Sean, my introduction came through another mutual friend of Zach and I's, Tony Ferrante. He reached out to me in the summer of 2014 and asked me, hey man, why don't you come down to Macon, Georgia and do this mud run with us? I'm sorry, Columbus, Georgia, and do this mud run with us. Some friends of mine have got this wheelchair athlete, Michael Mills, and I might need your help. Plus I just want to race with you since you got me into OCR racing. And I'm like, sure, why not? And at that point I've been doing OCR since 2009 and at that, been running for time, been running to podium, and I just thought, why not? Let's give it a try. And so I show up and I see this character dressed in what I thought was the best rendition of Braveheart I could imagine, complete with the breastplate, the shield, and the sword, and just these other guys around him. And then I see this guy sitting in a wheelchair, and I go, okay, because Tony hadn't told me much about what was going on with Michael at the time, just that he was in a wheelchair. And so I show up and I'm like, all right. So I start out with the team and we go part of the way through the race, and I'm just kind of hanging out in the back watching what's going on. And at one point, Zach just turns to me and he's just like, hey, you want to pull that chair for a little while? I'm like, sure, why not? So with the system we have in place, we have a horse is what we call it. And so he straps the harness on me and the weight belt, and I go to start pulling this guy in the wheelchair, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. This is a good workout. But I'll tell you, to make the long story really short, where I got hooked was we rolled up to this one obstacle. There's basically a dumpster full of ice water, and everybody's jumping in and playing, and because we were having a festive time, we were having a great time. And so Michael is sitting there in his wheelchair, and it's just like no one is, at the moment, really doing anything about Michael. And I just say, are we supposed to put him in that? And somebody who was already in the dumpster said, yeah, we need to get him in the ice water. I'm like, all right. So I take off my stuff and I scoop him up and I pick him up. And there are photos of me having this. I think at the time he was around 200 pounds. He had to be.
His arms are 200 pounds. Those things are weapons.
That's right. So I'm standing there and I'm picking him up. And Sean, as soon as I do, my life changed. Whew. I knew at that moment what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. My mother had always told me that she thought I was going to be a preacher because of my own childhood spinal meningitis that I was a survivor from. But I knew at that moment that I was going to spend the rest of my life helping those who could not or just needed to help, and those who could not help themselves, just people with disabilities in general. And I was hooked from that moment on. And here we are, 2022, and still going strong.
I remember that moment very clearly. See, we had all these different people that would come along. So when we did that first race as Team Nubs and Stubs, then I did another race. And that was the weekend before the Boston bombing. That was in Atlanta. And there was only 6 of us. The first time we had like 18 people on our team. There's this great big photo of all of us. We're looking great. We all had the matching T-shirts. We're doing the thing. And the second race we did, it was just 6 of us. Right. And I kind of thought, oh, that was that. And how this ties into where you're saying, because there's that moment you met with Michael there, and there's another touch point we need to get to about Michael that I don't know. We're both gonna get. I don't know how we're gonna get through that, but we're gonna get there. Ooh. So we did that race, and when I was there, Wendy, who's now in much better shape than I am. So Wendy is in significantly better shape. She's running the bear crawl race. She's in charge of this whole local race this weekend. It's happening tomorrow morning. She's a co-owner at a Broken Bar gym. She is a lifter. She is very strong. But then she was new to this thing, and we were hanging out, and we were going along. And she's like, "If you want to go with your friends, you can run on ahead." And I thought, I'm gonna think this through. I'm gonna think this through. And I decided I was gonna stay with her. It's the best decision I've ever made in my life. And staying back, it took us longer. We ended up coming across some Wounded Warrior guys. We ended up seeing other people that were really struggling with, getting up over Everest. And so we're trying to help them doing that. And so we were fine then, but I was concerned. I was like, my God, we're going to be so late. I'm not going to get to see Sean, because in my mind, we were going to hang out. I don't know why. I had no evidence. As to why Sean and I should be friends. Thousands of people come to the races, but I just like, that's my guy. So it's taking a long time. We're at the very end of it. We get in, and I get into the changing tent, and I'm like, I missed Sean, and I'm helping this guy who's missing his leg, and he's like, I can't put my leg back on. It's so dirty. He was having a real crisis. It was a new amputee veteran, and he was worried about getting his leg clean, but how is he going to get back there? And he was like, I got to hose it off, but I can't get back there. And I was like, well, I could help you with that. And he was really, really hesitant because those legs are expensive, and he was really nervous. I said, look, I can't relate to missing a leg, but I can relate to missing something. So I showed him my hands, and he goes, you can take the leg. So I took his leg, and it was hosing it down, and then I was really dirty. And then all of a sudden I hear this booming announcer voice going, mind if you hose me off or something? Because Sean was in the same shower. I guess you got thrown in the mud. Is that what happened at the end?
No, I was just hugging people.
I think you got muddy. You said so you were goofing around, and you end up getting like thrown all the way in.
Back then, I used to be at electroshock when people would come through right there at the finish line. So I'm encouraging them to get through electroshock and also giving people hugs. Real quick, let me say this also. For anybody listening that is not familiar with OCRs, and when you guys say race, what we're talking about in the OCR world, that's the obstacle course racing world. And in particular, Tough Mudder and Spartan is how I met you guys. And these are mud obstacle courses We've have a 10, 5K, 10K, 15K now. Back then we had the 10 miler, and people go out there and Spartans, it's their competition. Tough Mudders, we have our competition waves, but mostly we just people out there finding their best. And you guys, starting with you, Zackary, like you said, how we met at one of the events, and I was muddy again because I'm the MC at that event, and at the end, I'm at the finish line watching people come in because it's just an amazing feeling to see people accomplishing that goal. And of course, I'm giving them hugs and getting muddy, and yes, sometimes you fall into the mud yourself or run into electroshock to help people out. So yeah, you get involved that way. So that's how you and I ended up hosing off in the shower area together. But out of that, there wasn't a more hearts than scars then, Zackary. All of a sudden, it was born out of that moment that you found more hearts than scars. And again, for people that are listening and have heard us talking already, let's give them the elevator pitch. If you're in the elevator, somebody looks at you and you say, oh, you're that Zach guy and with more hearts than scars. What is more heart than scars? What do you say to somebody in an elevator that asks you that?
I say to them that it's a way of not being identified with what you're missing or what you're losing. It's not about the disability. It's more about finding the person's inner ability. And we celebrate the daily struggle in obstacle course racing. It shows it. So like if inside you got to make the decision that you're going to change your life. And the baptism of fire and mud and ice is Tough Mudder and Spartan. So you make the decision not to live as a victim, but to live in victory. That is what More Heart Than Scars is about. It's living not as a victim, but living in victory with the support of your peers, helping you through overcome visible or invisible scars together.
And I always say to people that when I see people running, and Joey, you can relate to this too, when you see people at these events, OCRs, and we know through the fitness world, when people are coming for training, that yeah, there's a physical thing going on, but there's something else more. They're bringing their life to these events, and they're exercising their survival tools and tools to deal with whatever the challenges they're going through in their life at the time, and then discovering tools that they have also while doing this obstacle course or this training with you guys. So again, for anybody listening, you guys are out there helping people discover these tools, but it's also not just about that course, it's with life in general. That's what I found. Joey, would you agree?
I do agree. You know, and I was, as you were saying that, Sean, I was just thinking about just this past weekend, and I also shared this with Zackary about a young lady who came out with us she's very socially awkward, social anxiety disorder, and she came to life this weekend. She just found her family. She found what came to us, there were no judgments on the way she looked, the way she acted. And she told her mother, as her mother was telling me this with tears, that she finally feels like she has found some people that she can do something with and have fun. And then she's all of 13 years old. And it's just, I mean, there's so many stories like that, Sean, that we could share with you. And you're going back even to Blind Pete. I mean, at one point, I think I'm going to write a book about all the instances where people have come up to us, and I mean, I'm talking able-bodied people, and just over these years, and tell us how they came into this particular OCR with whatever they were carrying heavy on their hearts, and at some point they just felt like they couldn't struggle. They were struggling, they couldn't go on, and they would see either myself with like a Blind Pete, or one of our wheelchair athletes, or one of our other athletes going through on hand crutches or something, and they would just hang their heads and just say, you know what, I thought I was just going to bow out, but I realized I truly have no excuses, and I'm going to finish this thing, because if you guys can do this, and these people who are out here giving everything that they have can do this, I can do this too. And that's just one of the things that really makes my heart happy, is to see people who are struggling. And Zach and I say this, and I know you do as well at the start lines, you know, Sure, you can come into the starting corral and you can see a person in a wheelchair or somebody on crutches. But what you don't see is someone that morning next to us could have been thinking about committing suicide. Or the other person behind us is dealing with severe depression. They're maybe going through a divorce, or they just lost a loved one. So you truly never know what someone's going through.
And that's what you and I have talked about a lot when we have our conversations. Exactly that thing where it's not just about the physical, again, that we see you guys out there with the team. When we see people in the wheelchairs, we see people with the blades, they're missing something physically, but you talk about those invisible scars also. And once again, it's about life. Again, they're there. They found a safe place, especially with you guys, to come and exercise those demons so that they become stronger to go back out in the world and take that demon on. We've talked about that. Elaborate on that for me too, on your end.
Sure. Well, I think you're a big part of that for me, because after we rinsed each other off back then, we made a connection and we just laughed. I mean, there was just a sense when I got to meet you, because I think this is a person that I need to be in my life. And it felt so good just hanging out with you. And then the following weekend, the Boston bombing happened. And I messaged you and you gave me your number and we talked, and you were talking about how do we reach out beyond the fear? Because, I've lived in New York, I've traveled all over the place. And when it happened in 9/11, I just was paralyzed on the couch for weeks. I just watched it. And I found myself doing the same thing with the Boston bombing. I was like, I can't do this. There has to be something that comes out of this. It cannot be that fear and terror and brokenness and my own insider stuff that just keeps me so afraid, like the sky is falling. My own PTSD is like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. So you see a Boston bombing situation, you're like, just completely shutting down. So I reached out to you and we talked about the t-shirt, and it was fun, like the team nubs and stubs. But you said to me, but it says on there it's got more heart than scars. And I was like, yeah. And that's where we made the shift right then and there and that's why right now, tonight is the 9 years ago this night.
Yep.
I tried to make a Facebook page. I had 200 Facebook friends. I had made 3 or 4 posts before that. I didn't know how to operate YouTube music. I looked it up and I started playing Scream and Shout and Let It All Out by Will.i.am and Britney Spears. And it was on a loop. It wouldn't stop playing. And so on the 29th, probably around 6 o'clock at night, by the following morning, there was a Facebook page called More Heart Than Scars. And Sean, you encouraged me to go with that when we didn't know what we were going to do. And that those words, that more heart than scars is going to reach out to the people that were in the Boston bombing. It's going to reach out to people that have been through loss of lost loved ones. I mean, the words began to resonate and it just started to have its own kind of power. And then I started looking, and I was looking at the Tough Mudder site. I saw an image of a guy with a missing leg dressed up like Superman pulling somebody through the electric eel. The electric eel is, you're in the water, there's electric wires hanging down. It's horrible. And so a guy with a metal leg is reaching in, definitely getting shocked, pulling somebody out. And I got a hold of him and found him and said, hey, I feel like I'm supposed to help people do stuff. We got a race coming up with a little boy named Tommy. And it was another type of smaller obstacle course. It's called Superhero Scramble at the time. And we're not quite sure what to do. And like you, Joey, you had your moment.
Yeah.
When you handed off with Michael. So my moment was talking to them. He said, we want to help this boy with cerebral palsy. He has severe seizure disorders. And so I got a hold of the parents and found out the wheelchair wasn't ready. And so I went to a bike shop and said, I got a great idea. I want you to give me 10, 15, 20 hours to rebuild a wheelchair. You're going to love it. And he said, I want you to do it for free. We only have a couple of days. We're going to take a kid on a race. So we rebuilt the wheelchair, put it together, made the thing happen, put a lightsaber on the kid. Tommy loves Star Wars. And we went through the race. Just before the race happened, because, Sean, you and I have talked about it. I come from a show business background. There was a big slide there. This race had a huge slide. It was probably 40 feet high, straight down. Little Tommy had a feeding tube in. If he slid down that end of the water, it would have killed him. We couldn't do it. So I figured out how to set up a rappel. And in the morning before the race started, I said, can I rehearse this? So I went up top and I had to rappel backwards going down the thing. And we did about half the race with the wheelchair. It was going well. But he was just getting too hot. His parents were nervous, and they said, well, do you guys want to just finish? And I said to Mom, can we just finish? Can we do that one obstacle? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. So we climbed up on top of the thing. I had a guy that was holding little Tommy, and they were harnessed together, clicked together, and then I was backwards, rappelling with the rope sliding through. It was just sliding down the thing. I just felt this tremendous laugh. He was so quiet about this. I just felt him laughing through this other guy's body. I felt him laughing, and I could just feel, it was one of those moments where the line between heaven and earth gets really fuzzy.
Yeah.
It felt like the company of heaven. It's like if the kingdom of heaven is at hand, at that moment was like, oh, the rock climbing, the mountain biking, all these things that I was okay at. But putting those skills together to help somebody in this moment was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I came down from it. Matt B. Davis from Obstacle Racing Media captured the thing, talked to me, goes, you should go with that nub thing, make a heart, with your hands. And so Matt Davis took a picture of my hands. He goes, you should do something with his nubs. So, that's how it became Zackary Nubs. And, we put that out there. So these invisible scars, the name More Heart Than Scars affects people. There's something in the cadence of it. It's ultimately become a cheer that someone yells out more heart. The crowd yells back, then scars. Like, it's a way of acknowledging what you've been through, but it's a way of acknowledging what other people have been through. And then all of a sudden you're free. So the emotional scars, the emotional impact, really, I think the real role model I have is King Moonracer from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Christmas special, the Island of Misfit Toys. I mean, yeah, I might be the CEO and co-founder More Than Scars, but my real job is Moonracer 2. I got the main. I can't fly, but I have a lot of Misfit toys,
Right.
Zackary, and let me say this too, because I kind of get what you're saying, Zach, about what it is that motivates you to put together this More Hearts Than Scars theme. Because, we could all just come to a race and help whoever is there. You've taken it further than that. You're saying to people, come see us first. We'll even train you. We'll go out there with you. We'll get you all the tools that you need. So I hear your passion in it, but you guys got a whole team of people there. If you go to your website, moreheartsthanscars.org, I see a lot of different faces. Who are these people, Joey? Because I saw you at our Jacksonville event just recently. Who are these people that make up the team?
Sean, we have, it kind of just plays into what Zach was talking about. We call ourselves the happy band of misfits because the one thing we tell people, look, we're not perfect. We are out here. We have our own struggles. But when we come together as a family, it's also to lift each other up and to help each other accomplish things that we didn't think we could. And if I could say that's a message that we also try to get across is we accept any and everyone into our family because we want to make them feel comfortable with who they are, where they are in life, whatever they're dealing with. So we have people who served in the military. And yes, we have people in our own family who have tried to commit suicide, those who are dealing with PTSD, anxiety, body dysmorphia, social anxiety disorder. And obviously those with physical scars, whether it's been from automobile accidents or just any other sorts of type of situations where they've been injured. But the thing is, once people become a part of us, they realize that they have found, like I was saying about the young lady earlier, they have found a family where they can call home and be a part of because there are no judgments. So that's what we are. We have this camaraderie that we're building, and people can feel it when they come together. We had, I was telling Zach just the other day, with the minimum of 2 people after each race, either message me or call me and tell me their own personal stories of triumph or overcoming whatever they're going through. I had another gentleman also send me a long message, and he went out with us for the first time this past weekend and at Atlanta Tough Mudder. And he said, Joey, I just want you to know, I used to be in the ministry and I lost my way. But he said, after coming out with you guys this weekend, I now feel like I have something that I can pour my love back into, because you guys are a family and I can feel it, that you guys are doing what you do from your heart. I mean, that's what we are. We're just people who are struggling through life, but we're doing it together and lifting one another up.
And the system that we have in place gives people a role. So our system that's set up is there's the horse up front who's pulling the chair, and you and I have kind of perfected this system of a variety of different disciplines. So I took it from being an outward bound instructor for wilderness medical rescue. There's horseback riding stuff involved in it. There's mountain biking components to it. There's whitewater rescue components, all the different things. It's like this whole idea of that, that if, all things can come to good for those who love and serve. Like throughout my life, all the things that I loved, even like Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, who would think Dungeons and Dragons, Braveheart, and being able to tie a knot could somehow, and being an okay mountain biker, could turn into what we've done here. And so you brought your skills to it, and because you've been an incredible performer, like you push so hard. I mean, the tension between Joey and I, like Joey's like, I want to go faster. I'm like, we got to keep everyone together. And we've gone back and forth. There was one race though when I was hungry and tired, and I started pulling faster, and Joey's like, finally, he's hungry. That's what it was. Like, I think you said we can't feed Zach at races anymore. He goes much faster. But so the horse is up front. And the ponies connect to the horse, whether on the front of the system to help pull it along, or they go to the back to brake it. So there's the horse is on the front, there's the wheelchair, and then there's the brake, the person on the back. And the only two people that ever broke for the first several years was me and then you.
Yeah.
The brake is the one holding the back of the chair. The brake is the person completely responsible for the well-being of that athlete the entire time. From the moment you strap to that chair, to that person, until they're done and cleaned and put in the car, your butthole puckers. Yes, it does. You get strapped in, you clip in, and you look at each other like, you got him? And you got him. So you are there all the way through. That's the role of the brake. And then we have the wings on either side to keep it from tipping over. This system gives every person a place to want to be a part of it. So other people, other wheelchair athletes mentor each other to say, Erica said, hey, well, Shannon brought in Erica. Erica brought in Miss Ryan, Miss Virginia. We bring in these other, the Miss Wheelchair group.
Miss Wheelchair
has been incredible. We've gotten so many female athletes there, Georgia. All these different, by reputation, we reach out. Jesse came from that. They recommend and say, yeah, these people kind of know they're doing it. And Joey, we've been talking about this forever. And Sean, the main thing that I finally figured out is there's the elevator speech that says, yeah, it's big. And we have these great moments and we can say, we did this, we did that. The core of it is when I was a little boy, my grandmother took me to the woods and showed me this place, Charlotte Ann Schisler. And she let me be a wild child in the woods. But as I continue to get older, her hips deteriorated to the point she could no longer walk again. And so she had this little tiny wheelchair, and I would take her places that she probably shouldn't go. But I knew how much she loved to see the woods and how she wanted to pick mushrooms and how she wanted to be in it. And so I, for my whole life, was dealing with wheelchairs and dealing with somebody that I loved very much and wanting her to have an experience. And so when this connected and I first met Michael and helping little Tommy go on this, I didn't realize what this connection is, why I've always loved this, why I automatically get down on my knees to talk to somebody in a wheelchair, how issues of bathroom problems, I mean, my grandmother having problems, all these different issues that go with it was second nature to me. And it's taken me years to figure out what I'm really doing is honoring my grandmother and trying to take my friends to pretty places.
That's a perfect segue. I always like to ask my guests, I'm always curious what inspired them to do why they're on the podcast, what I'm talking to them about, the subject that we're talking about. And I always like to go back to the beginning. So I'm going to come back to you on that one, Zachary. Zach. But,
Either one. I love when you call me Zachary.
Joey.
So sweet.
I know. It comes with the beard. I'm like an authoritative figure now. Zackary, behave.
I'm trying.
Joey, tell us about little Joey. Where were you born and raised? What was little Joey's life like that got him to where he is now, inspired him to be the person that he is now?
Wow. Man, you're really going back to Joey's own identity crisis as a kid. Joey was a fat kid. Joey had no friends. Joey tried to mask his own loneliness by cracking jokes around everyone. And, yes, that was that component where I really was. I was the fat kid that used to wear the Sears Husky Plush jeans with the double knees because I was clumsy and I would fall a lot. But I also had a very loving mother who was a nurse for 45 years. And I watched her take care of people day in and day out. And I knew that I wanted to be that person. And so as I got older, and thank goodness I found health and fitness and football and started working out. And the more I got into it, the more I loved it. And I knew that I was going to be a caretaker at heart, always, and which eventually led to my current profession of being a clinical massage therapist and a personal trainer and a rehab therapist. But also now, since I've been with the organization, a peer support and recovery coach and a mental health and wellness coach. And it all ties in. But I think because of what I endured with my own sickness as a kid, and honestly, I have no recollection of it, but it's just been something inside of me that subconsciously, I guess I'll never forget. And then watching my mom take care of people, I just knew I was going to take care of people for the rest of my life. That's pretty much it.
Where were you born, Joey?
Where were you born?
Oh, I was born in, some people call it Vienna, like the sausage, but it was Vienna, Georgia, down in South Georgia, next to Cordele, Georgia, which is probably the next largest city next to it.
How Joey went from being a participant to being a knight to being my right-hand man is the moment that I knew. I'd love to share how he went from a helper to like being why I'm like, you want me on a podcast? He's got to be with me. So it was, 2015 we had Joe DeSena, Michael? 2014. Michael Mills challenged Joe DeSena to try out what we do in a wheelchair. So we were pretty new at all this. And Michael just calls out Joey and he's like, come on, because Michael did a death race. Death race is the hardest race in the world for all obstacle course races. He did it in a wheelchair. I saw an image of Stephen Reed, just with paracord over his shoulder, pulling Michael up a hill of a death race. I go, I think there's some ways we could do that better. Because since I've become very good friends with both of them, and Michael's become my best friend. So Michael challenged Joe and managed to get them to get a wheelchair built for us from a company that's no longer around anymore. They've made a wheelchair called the Excalibur, which we love and we use. Oh. So Excalibur was made for Joey. Not for Joey. It was made for Joe DeSena. And so we came up to Ohio, and we were supposed to do a super. Super is the mid-range race. On this particular day in Ohio, it rained, it sleeted, it got hot, it snowed, it thundered, it lightning. Every weather conceivable. It was a terrible day. But when we got started with Joe DeSena, I was like, we're going to tie your legs up so you're going to be just like Michael, that you can't get up. And so we got to the start. He's like, I got to pee. I'm like, Joe, here's the choices. You can kneel and pee, or I can get a catheter for you. He goes, I guess I'll kneel and pee. So we created a shield around him. He kneeled and peed. He did the whole day in the chair because Michael at one point challenged me to crawl with him up what is that in Georgia? Stone Mountain. So I crawled on my knees next to Michael the whole time as he was crawling up Stone Mountain. When I got to the top, I got to go run, when it was done with the challenge, I got to run across the mountain and get to the bathroom. And when I started running, I was like, I've never felt anything like that. I just wish my friend could come with me. So here I said, Joe, here's what's going to happen to you. It's going to change your life. If you're in that wheelchair all day long, it's going to change your life. So 2 miles into it, was it 2 miles?
Yeah.
2 miles into it, Michael's chair's Lucille front left tire broke clean off. Now, there's 2 wheels up front. A wheelchair needs all 4 wheels to operate. So he's going along, the wheel breaks off, and all of a sudden he catapults out of it. And Joe's like, this is a great opportunity. Here's the new wheelchair. I'll get out. You'll do it. I'm like, Joe, no. And I'm on the break for Joe. It was the best opportunity I had possibly for the charity. Here I'm going to get to hang out Joe DeSena all day long, usher him through this incredible experience. And I looked at him and I go, Joe? This is Chris Green. He's my kid's godfather. I trust him with my life. He's now got you. I'm leaving you because I'm going to help Michael finish. So you and I and a couple of people went to get Michael through this race that was not a sprint. It was a super. It turned out to be a beast. It was so long, 17 miles. And every 20 feet or so, that front wheel would click and he would throw that. We'd fall over each other. And we got better at it, but we fell over and over again. And at one point we got into the mud so deep.
Oh.
And I had him on my back and I had the armor on. And I fell and a big stab hit me right in the chest, knocked the wind out of me. If I hadn't had the armor on, it could have gone into me. And Michael's a big boy, slammed on me. I'm laying in the mud. I can't do it anymore. And I'm looking around. The only person that I trusted was you. At that point, through all those races, nobody was on the break. Nobody was picking him up. I was carrying Michael through all of it. That was our thing. Yep. And I was like, I physically cannot do this, and I need help. And the one person that I believe that needed to be that person was you. And you picked him up and put him on your back and carried him up there. You carried him up like a dang gazelle. And I was like, all right, we're on to something here. That was the moment that I knew you were the person, that you took it seriously, that you had the passion for it, that you had the ability, that you had the insight, and that together we could do anything. And we have done some pretty incredible things since that moment, because I couldn't do this alone. There's no way I couldn't carry it anymore. And when I've been broken down, when I've had this early, there's been more times than not that I have been broken down to the point that I can't carry on anymore, and you've lifted me up.
Well, I'm glad I've been able to, because yes, it is my passion, and it's my heart. I mean, I love it. I love what we do because of the opportunities we get to help somebody who, I keep saying it, and I will continue to say, if someone's going to be struggling, someone's going to think about killing themselves, and if we can give them a glimmer of hope, I'm there, man. I'm doing it. So I thank you for the opportunity that you've given me.
We just like matching shirts.
Yeah.
That's all. Sean's got a shirt on. Sean, if you lean back, you can show your more heart than scars bling there, man. Oh yeah,
absolutely.
There it is.
So you guys mentioned the name Joe DeSena. Joe DeSena is the owner of Spartan and the owner of Tough Mudder now, right. Owner and part rescuer. He's responsible for us still being alive and moving forward as we do and growing. Now, I asked Joey, and you touched a little bit on it, Zackary, of your youth and your grandmother, but go back again. Little Zach, where was little Zach born? What was life like growing up for little Zach and got him to where he is now, inspired him to be the person that he is now?
Well, you're in Missouri. Where in Missouri are you? That matters.
Wentzville? Does that sound familiar?
Not exactly. You're in the Show Me State somewhere.
You asked me that.
Well,
yeah. Got to show me where I'm at.
Show me where it's called the Show Me State.
Yeah, Wentzville is where we're at.
Okay, it's a pretty big state. It's like it feels like it's the size of Texas almost. So in Missouri, I lived in St. Louis as a kid. My grandmother lived across the river in Belleville. The lake house where I had my accident was in Missouri. So ironically, the piece of equipment that I ended up hurting my hands on was a piece of adaptive equipment from my grandmother who was in a wheelchair. That's what I was playing with when I lost my fingers. It was, yes, I was showing off, but yet it ties into the wheelchair tremendously. So when I got hurt, I had so many nightmares related to the accident and just remembering it and waking up and, not being able to sleep. And I found that if I drank, I could go to sleep more quickly. If I made the bed spin, I didn't have the nightmares. So that made, I had that childhood too, where I was trying to show up. And so I wasn't the chunky kid. I was really athletic. I was always trying to prove myself. I was like one of the top 100 swimmers in Florida. I swam competitively. I ran competitively. I was the anchor on our track team for the 440 as a white guy. There's not a lot of white guys doing the 440. I had a car, and so that helped my team get to places, and I was pretty quick. I was like, you're pretty fast for a white guy. So I was always trying to run away from the thing. It was either there was some binge drinking, a lot of self-harmful behavior, a lot of risky stuff, because I just couldn't deal with how I felt about me, and I wanted to keep my hands in my pockets as much as possible. When somebody called me nubs when I was in high school, I would thump them in the chest with the end of my finger. I hated that word. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bring in the memories. So if somebody mentioned it to me, I would just dead strike them and they'd fall down. They wouldn't talk about it anymore. So I wanted it. It was a thing that I was ashamed of. But more than anything else, I was afraid that if I brought it up, it would bring up the memories of it. And I was pretty tortured by that. So I was compensating that if I was going to paddle, I needed to go to the best paddling camp. I did, Camp Mondamin in North Carolina. I paddled as hard as I could. I rock climbed, mountain biked, wrestled, everything I could do to try to push it beyond to say that there's something I couldn't do. I mean, I became an outward bound instructor and eventually a mountain guide in Colorado without any sort of specialized equipment. I mean, I went rock climbing and ice climbing. People lose their fingers while they're ice climbing. Normal-handed people lose their fingers due to frostbite. And so when I started doing it, it was great because people just assumed I lost my fingers to frostbite. It was the one community where I didn't have to say shit. I just had to have the beard, have the ice axes and show up and they're like, that man lost his finger, maybe on the Matterhorn. I didn't have to say anything. It was a great place to be. And so, I was pushing myself to pretty extreme sports I didn't want to be held back. And so I tried, I was dyslexic. So getting my left and right confused. The way I tell my left and right is they say these look like L's, but if you're dyslexic, these both look like L's. So how I know which one is my left hand is I subtly put them together and I feel this is the only fingertip I have left. So this is my left hand. So I'm going, we're going to go to the left. I'm reaching over, but I always touch my fingers together. That's why for the longest time, I had the pony robes is one side was red, one side was black. So I knew which was left and right. I didn't want you made a match. Like, don't make the match. One side for one side for the other. So I could steer the damn thing.
Now I know.
That's why. So I had to overcome, dyslexia. Learning disabilities, I was depressed. I was an alcoholic. I was a mess as a kid. And I was trying to say that I could do anything in spite of my hands. So I get cracked up now that I've somehow or other become the safety guy. Somehow or other, my reputation now is the safety guy. Sure, maybe I'm holding the adaptive athlete's back. I'm like, I used to ice climb with no fingers. It's like, it doesn't get any more dangerous than that. Because if you expose your hands, they freeze. When you're having to hold on to two pointy things with, one has an adze, which could be a hammer that can, not a hammer. It's it's a cut. You cut steps with that. It's called the adze. That can take an eye out. Then the hammer, you can give yourself a concussion. The pointy point's on there. And if you get really wet and cold, you lose what you got left. So that my childhood up until the time that I got sober at 18, actually 19, was trying to mask and cover up and outperform all of it. And when I did get sober, then I wanted to be really serious about being an athlete. And so I wanted to do what was that race they called? It was the Eco Challenge.
Yeah, Eco Challenge.
I was starting to change. I was training for the Pikes Peak Marathon. I was a pretty good runner. I would run lots of 5 and 6 minute miles in a clip. I was a pretty serious athlete. My knees blew out. And when they blew out, I got chunky because I was still eating like I was, running 6 minute miles. You run 8 6-minute miles. You can eat a pizza. You can eat a tray of brownies. So I was still eating like that. When I lost the ability to keep on running and to keep on pushing and guiding, that's when I got chunky and I got sad. That's when I met Billy. And I hadn't pushed myself as an athlete because I was just so sad that my opportunity to be, an elite athlete, it was over. And so I saw an opportunity that I could help somebody else and let go of that. And that's what brought me back into it. Tough Mudder brought me back into thinking about, well, you know what? Maybe I can't run anymore. Maybe I'm not going to win, but maybe I can help other people finish. And then when the Boston bombing came in on top of that, and I had that experience with Tommy going down that slide and meeting these incredible people, meeting Michael Mills, Justin Falls, Erica, it just goes on and on. These incredible adaptive athletes that gave me that purpose. So it's 9 years today. I mean, it will be 9 years in a couple hours.
In a couple hours.
In a couple of hours.
Yep.
I can hear in the background Britney Spears saying, "I want to scream and shout and let it out." That's what the charity is. It has a scream and a shout to it.
Yes, it does. And if I may, I'm thinking about something that really drives me now, Sean, is, I was always told too as a kid, you can't. And that is something that to this day, I do not like those words. And so now people say to me, well, why don't you run elite anymore? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I said, because you know what? There's somebody on the sideline who was just told they can't do something. So that's where I've taken my energy, because we have our athletes tell us weekly, daily, some of them, that they were told they can't do something. I said, you know what? You're going to do it, and we're going to help you do it. So that's where my competitive nature comes in. And when people doubt, I love it. I love it when people doubt, because I'm going to do everything in my power to show them that, yes, we can. As a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks here, we've got one of our wheelchair athletes, Erica, is going to be competing in her first Spartan Ultra, which is around 32 miles. And I don't think that's ever been done yet.
No. But
she will finish, and I'm going to make sure of it. But that's now where my competitive nature comes in. And I tell people this all the time who are able-bodied elites. I said, if you want to be humbled and you want to feel a joy like you've never felt before, come with us. Come share the experience of the joy and the smile of someone who was told they couldn't do something, cross the finish line at a Tough Mudder or a Spartan or any of these races that we do. Experience that with me. And if your life does not change, something is wrong with you.
It changed Joe's life so much. It changed Spartan. It changed Tough Mudder. It's actually kind of changed the world. I mean, with the impact, it first started off, there was Michael Mills. There was like one or two other, there was a handful of people that were doing this. And now we're at races. We were in this race. Remember, it was in Florida. And there was like this other group. They're bringing all these kids, and they didn't know quite what they're doing. We're like, hey, we could help you out if you like. They had no idea who we were. They didn't know that we were like the grandfathers of the whole sport. But it's like people are lining up. It's like they've seen it so much, and it's happened, and it's gone so far that people don't know the origins of it. So now, Oscar Mike does it with Operation Enduring Warrior. These other groups, it's beautiful across the board. All these people. So I got to ask you, Sean, that you've been seeing this when it was just a few people. I mean, when we first took a Team Dubs and Stub, and Billy was going up there with a leg going up Everest, that was new territory, and now it's become more commonplace. You've watched this sport grow. You've seen the impact of us one or two wheelers coming in. Like we brought the first quadriplegic through with Justin Falls, and and then the first female, then the first. I mean, it's all these firsts have happened. Now we're gonna have a first Ultra Beast. I mean, how has it been for you at that starting line from it just being a trickle to just being a full force? I mean, you see it better than anybody else.
Yeah, that was one of the things when I very first started working with Tough Mudder that I felt, hey, there's more going on here than people just out here being crazy and getting muddy and, again, the physical of it. And it was because of the people that I saw coming out there, the adaptive athletes, our veterans, people that have that T-shirt that has someone that they lost picture on it. And that was when I threw away the script they gave me and started talking to people. Some of the earlier people that I saw in the adaptive athlete category, I remember Noah Galloway was one of the first people that I met, and then Jesse Stratham, who you guys had mentioned before, and there was a lot of others, that have done our World Toughest Mudder because of people like yourselves out there assisting them. What I wanted to say was also on the Mike Rowe show, returning the favor, it was like you guys had facilities where you were training people. One, do people have to be an athlete previously? And two, how does someone get in touch with you guys that is interested in whether they're an adaptive athlete or whether they want to be helping like you guys do?
Yeah. Well, we're rebuilding the website. We're getting it so that there'll be more contacts, so there'll be direct numbers for you and I, for people to call in if they want to do that. So the headquarters is my house now. We changed it over. It started off, I brought friends over, and I had to lift them up to get them in the house. Like maybe a little ramp, maybe a deck, maybe more of a ramp, maybe a double door. So it's like the entire place where the show happened was at. My house was just really the headquarters of More Heart Than Scars, and so we've got a bunch of people there now. We have 2 adaptive athletes there right now eating chili. There's chili and guacamole usually involved. Couldn't make the guac today because we had to come and get this done because we're racing tomorrow. So if they can get a hold of Joey and I, we've done some trainings. We did a group with Redwire Space. They came out, and Erica, we went, and this is the hat that we have for that bad boy. We Atakula Adaptive Ascent. We took Erica from the back porch to the top of Mount Mitchell, which is a 2-day hell hike that may never be done again. We don't know, but it was something. So, but we're doing a smaller version of that. So we've now, thanks to the generosity of Mike Rowe through Hoke Enterprises and some other companies, help we got from Spartan and Tough Mudder, we're now have it set up that people can come camp there, have an adaptive experience with other athletes, get to know each other, and we're working on training a lot to deal with diversity, and understanding disabilities is just a different type of ability. So we're now ready to go. We just finished the launching pad. We call it the launching pad because Redwire Space gave us the money to build this campsite area that's like a beautiful shelter that you just have to finish with a ramp on it, but it's a place that wheelers can come and be independent and get to the bathroom and camp out together and just be right alongside of us. And so beginning to build up those skill sets. So you don't have to have been an athlete before you got injured. You just need to make a decision that you want to play in the woods with your friends, that you want to get muddy, and that you want to be lifted up. And so we do that here in North Carolina. Joey is in charge of everything happening in Georgia. Joey does more of the races out in the world. I'm doing now the more localized, and the big picture of looking how do we get this international, as Joey's working on trying to build the company to be national, to build other bases in other places. We want to go out west. Yeah. We've been doing stuff from Vermont to Florida. Yeah. I've gone out to Colorado a couple times, but most of our thing is Vermont to Florida. And we want to build another setup, find some other like-minded folks to do what we're doing on the West Coast, so we can begin to expand this idea, because it takes a group of committed people with the know-how. We'd like to train them. We'd like to get them built up, because we can't be everywhere. There's just no way.
Oh. I wish we could.
We could clone ourselves.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
So contact the website. We want people to come here. We're gonna start having small events, and because Joey's peer support as well as my peer support, And some of the people we partner with that are, Wendy's our clinical director. She's got her, she's a counselor. So we're going to set up retreats for people to come. Wendy's passion is doing this local bear crawl race, helping people, a local veterans group and a local recovery community, as well as kids that are at risk, and connecting with them so that the proceeds from that, the bear crawl, can benefit those people. So we're interested in the community where our headquarters is, in Marion, Old Fort, Morganton, North Carolina. Then regionally from basically Vermont, from Joe's house to Florida. Now Joe's living in Florida too. So from Vermont to Florida, and a lot of Atlanta that you've got, we've got this idea. That's sort of the reach, and the hope is to be successful enough in what we're doing here to get enough funding coming in, to get enough support, to get enough people going, that we can really be clear about what we've done, and then not like franchise it, but let's make another base. Let's get another group of people with the similar values. Let's train them up and go with this philosophy.
So once again, because Tough Mudder, I know we are really pushing that all-inclusive vibe. We've always had it. We have it in our community, but there are just people that are out there that feel like they don't belong, or this is not for them. And I think you guys are all inclusive also. So to that person that is sitting here right now, that is hearing you guys or may have seen you guys before, and they're saying, yeah, I'd like to volunteer and get out there and help, but I can't do it. They're not looking for my type. Or to that person that is the adaptive athlete or whatever challenge is going through their life, saying, I can't get up off the couch. I'd love to be a part of it, but they don't. I'd be a burden to them. Both of you guys, and let me start with you, Joey. What do you say to that person first?
I just say, you know what? Please come out and give it a try. I promise it will be a life-changing experience for you. You may not think you can do something, but we will show you, and we will guide you, and we will take you every step or roll or crawl of the way.
Or catapult.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll get catapulted.
We catapult. So, we love to have anyone who feels like they can't. Just come out with us. Just give it a try.
And the way they initially do this, they get a hold of us, and each relationship we've had so far has been an introduction. Usually our adaptive athlete is one introduction from one adaptive athlete to the next, because we like to build a relationship, get to know them, break bread, talk for a long time. We really, before we bring a wheelchair athlete out, we want to know what's up with their medical stuff, what they get too hot, they get too cold. There's all sorts of issues that go into this. We want to be sure to build a relationship with the people first, and bring people around them. So people that want to volunteer with us, we're going to have on that website all the races that we're going to be at. And people are welcome to be around that and connect with us. You can get the shirt, get the jersey, represent. The positions on the chair, those need to be earned. We need to get to know you. But as far as being with us and being out there and being around it, and the main way to get involved with us is you got to be persistent.
Yeah.
If you're persistent, the way to get my attention, the way to get Joey's attention is like, see the race schedule. You come out there on your own and connect with us. If you're not an adaptive athlete, if you're just wanting to be around, show up and be around. Get to know us. Message us. Get involved in the message. We have so many chats going on right now. That wrong thread. There's the chit chat group of just talking in general. Then each race, like, what are we going to eat? Where are we going to be? When are we going to meet? So every event that Joey's got coordinated, there's a Facebook group messenger about. Like the bear crawl for tomorrow. And it's just nonstop. Okay, what time are you meeting? Who's the horse? Who's the pony? Who's doing this? And Joey has a spreadsheet. I could not do this. There is no spreadsheet in me. Joey is the spreadsheet guy. Thank the Lord. So then there's all these chats. And so I'm looking through it, like I'm building the thing up, getting ready for them coming, and just laughing because originally it was just like we could barely get 6 people. When we took Justin Falls through the first Tough Mudder as a quadriplegic, there was 8 people on our team. The bike thing that we had broke. We had 2 2x4s with string across and a thermal rest, and the 8 of us carried him the entire way. We were dying. We were so sore. When we got to the changing tent, Justin leaned against me. The 2 of us passed out on each other, freezing cold. It was a North Carolina race. I'll never forget it. Wow. And now we have people monitoring our chat rooms saying, too much conversation. too many puns because they call Joey the cat herder.
Yeah.
So if you come out with us, be in that crowd, get known to us, show up. If you want to be a part of this, you want to work your way to being a knight like you are. The way you earn your way in is show up consistently. Be involved in the Facebook, because I saw an image of Michael Mills being pulled by Stephen Bones. I saw that image. I saw a guy dressed like Superman with one leg pulling something through. I saw those images. It changed my life, and it had the impact is huge. So it's an ongoing witness. So interact. There's so much negativity in Facebook. There's so much negativity in Instagram, but this is one place where you sharing something could save somebody's life. And with all of our stuff, like right on the inside of your bracelet, Joey, on the More Heart Than Scars, on the inside of it is the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. It's right in there. I'd love to flash that up. Read the number, please.
Yes.
If you or a loved one are struggling,
if you're in a loved one is struggling,
or if you're a veteran, press 1. What's the number?
1-800-273-8255.
You hand out the bracelet to each other. You talk about if the suicidal ideation or struggling you're going on, you do that. If you show up, you share our posts, we're going to notice. If you start tagging us and things and showing up, you've got your More Heart Than Scars jersey on and you're out running, Joey and I are going to see that. We see you at more and more races, and you're going to work your way in. And you got to work your way in because we got to trust you. So we may help you through the thing, but if you're going to help us, we got to know you, because when you're getting a hold of it, like we said, when we have our adaptive athlete, for us to let somebody else make physical contact with that person, it's the sacred of things.
It is.
There's a handful of people that have been the brake. There's more that have been the horse. But there's the different roles to get in there to be close, and so it's a deep circle of trust. And so we're an open, wide family. We want to bring you in, and maybe you can carry the gear bag, maybe you can carry the flag, maybe you can carry the shield. Please carry the shield. It weighs about 20 pounds and it's miserable. Please carry the shield. Don't leave it behind. We want you to be a part of that as you get to be known. If we're not immediately totally wide open, it's because we're thinking about everybody else. That's the thing. The trick about More Heart Than Scars is you'll stop thinking about yourself. If you come out with us, and you're going to think, well, am I carrying the flag? Am I carrying the shield? All that petty BS about you goes away. That's why we work so well with kids on the autism spectrum, is we help people on the autism spectrums, or CEOs, or type A personalities, or athletes like us that we used to think we were the shit, to forget themselves.
Yeah.
The magic of More Heart Than Scars is you forget you and start thinking about other people, and whatever role you can do, you're going to do it to get closer to moving along. And if we begin to see that in your heart, then you're going to naturally move in. Like someone's going to give you a challenge coin, or someone's going to ask you to carry something. And so if you get your feelings hurt, good. If we can't read your mind and you get your feelings hurt and you come out with us, then check in with your own ego. Like, what's going on with me? Reach out to your own therapist. Reach out to a peer support group. Reach out to a 12-step community. Like, try to figure out what's going on with you. If you're feeling like you're not getting your needs met yet, figure out how to voice them. Keep showing up. The mud, the fire will test you. The weight of the carrying of things will forge you into a place that when you stop thinking about you, we'll notice. We'll see you, and then before you know it, you'll be given the opportunity to lift someone else up. That's how you become a knight and dame. It's consistently showing up, driving. It's an investment of time. It's an investment of money. It's an investment of Facebook posts. It's an investment of being those things, of having more faith than fear, of having more love than hate, of having more hope than despair. It's showing up, and right in the center of our things, it says no excuses. I mean, that's the incredible thing. We've come together on this. Like, here's the No Excuses podcast. I had to have Joey here because he insisted that everything on our stuff says no excuses. When I've learned that you were doing a podcast called No Excuses, I'm like, God's just messing with me now. I mean, this is such an incredible coincidence. And Joey's the one that's pushing that. And I'm the king of excuses. My knees are bad. I can't afford to get there. My truck's not working. I'm depressed. It's shitty. I had come up with I'm whining. I don't want to go. I'm the guy doing it. And I have excuses. I don't want to get up and take a cold shower every morning.
So, yeah, Joey, you've been flying that flag for a while, the No Excuses. And when they introduced the podcast and that was going to be the name of it, at first I was hesitant because I didn't feel that was. I mean, I get what no excuses mean and all that, but I didn't feel that was sort of what our community was about. But it is. It is in the way of that inspirational way. You know, we're not out here to be a drill sergeant or force you or shame you. We want you to feel yourself, feel those words coming from your own voice, your own inner self. You are inspired by watching More Hearts Than Scars out there, the people that they're working with out there, and you say to yourself, wow, I don't have no excuses, or these excuses that I do have, I'm not going to let those limit me anymore. That, to me, is what no excuses means. And you guys represent that. Through trial and error, you guys have been doing this for so long, so you got a lot of experience for people, too, whether they're volunteering or whether they are an adaptive athlete that wants to get out and be active. It's not just doing OCRs, but whatever they want to do. I think you guys can prepare them for that. So wrapping this up, what do you see the future of More Hearts Than Scars? What is your goals, and how do you see you guys moving into the future?
The long-term hope is, like I said with my grandmother, getting her to see beautiful things. Well, then I've got Michael, as Michael's not doing his races as much anymore, but he was messaging me today about wanting to come up and camp out there at the place. I want the curbside view in the United States for where the sidewalk ends. It's not a great view. The system that we've created, that Joey and I have put together, allows a wheelchair to go anywhere. We've made the world accessible with system. You put 5 people in a wheelchair with our thing, and you can take them anywhere. I want to take that. We want to take that worldwide. We want to get a sponsor, a big enough sponsor to help us to build a chair that we've been dreaming about, with the systems to pull it and train that. So there are people in remote villages where the road gets washed out by landslides, where they're in a crappy little wheelchair, or they're on the ground where they never get to leave. They don't have vehicles. The system that we have for fun, what we're doing for fun at a Tough Mudder and Spartan race, and it is for fun and it is life-changing, but we could get, I cannot wait. And it will be 10 years next year. But by our 15th year, I want to spend the rest of my life flying with you, Joey, to locations to train people and handing off chairs in Vietnam, in Africa, in the Himalayas, wherever it may be, where somebody's life is stuck where they are, that this system, that we can prove that it works, it could be a vital life-saving tool to change it. I mean, we're not going to pave the world, but we have paved the way with the technology and the human power that we put together as a team for More Heart Than Scars. So we're going to be going after some big companies to get us the pieces that we need to assemble this, and then to train the people and get out there. And in the meantime, that will reinforce what we're doing. The more we build it and the practice it, I see it like the NASCAR. I know it's so little about sports, but I think NASCAR works like the technology gained from racing goes to the average cars. Is that kind of true?
That's true. That's the same thing we've been doing with the military.
Yeah, that's really, we are the acid test. We are like, if it can make it through a Tough Mudder, if it can make it through world's toughest mudder, then this can get you from one village to the next. We want to test it, refine it, and get some big names behind that and spread that around the world, because I want to make the whole world accessible. I don't want it to be a place that you're stuck because you're in a chair and that your view is compromised. I want people to see them as people.
Yes.
To get on their level. And then the thing I would challenge all of you to do is go to the national park. When you're out hiking, you're doing your thing, go to where the sidewalk is so you can't go any further, and then sit down and just look at that guardrail.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful places that it is just at your vision point from a seated position. You don't get to go that far, and the view is obstructed. So the future of More Heart Than Scars is to make the world accessible through human power, the power of connection, and this incredible chariot system that we've put together and are working on. And it's only going to grow. The more people that come along, we're going to get better and better and better at it.
And fun is one of the best way to sneak some knowledge into people.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a good time. There's going to be fart jokes. I mean, you said to me today. And the two things that I also love that you guys do is, again, one, they start getting to hear, not just hear the words, but feel no excuses in their own heart, in their own voice. And two, that you are a part of something bigger than yourselves in this world, in this life. You guys provide that for people. So moving on, guys, it's time for my two final questions, my fun questions that I have for my guests. One is a quote. You guys know the quote very well. You've been with me at these events for a long time. It was a quote that was passed down to me by one of our Legionnaires, a gentleman named Craig. I got to visit Craig in the hospital just before he passed away of cancer. And he told me when he was diagnosed, he started living by this quote that became a motto for him, became a motto for me. And I brought it back to Mother Nation, and they made it so popular over the years, it actually became a song by Darius Rucker. So I will ask you guys on this one. I'm going to start with you first, Zackary. When was the last time you did something for the first time? 24 days ago. I'm day counting. 24 days ago, I made a decision for my own health to actually write down everything. Joey's been on me to take care of myself, and other people have been around, and I've struggled with it too. Everything that I put in my mouth that I write down, and I have not done that. You know, I'm at a 24-day streak, measuring my because of the chronic pancreatitis, because of other health issues and my depression and the things that have held me back. I've struggled with the food, and that's been harder for me than my addiction to sugar and crunchy, salty things has been a real challenge. So for the first time ever consistently, I'm taking my journey with food and exercise and nutrition as seriously as I am with my recovery for my mental health and my well-being, and so that I can be a good role model for the team, for my daughter, for myself, and so I can be a good partner to you, so I can carry my load.
Oh, wow.
Joey, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Well, Sean, I'm going to try to keep this answer in the racing world, because as I was telling Zach on the way over here, it seems like I do something for the first time every weekend with some new adaptive athlete, because it is like a brand new experience for me when I can have someone tell me, thank you. But something major for the first time was, and you were there, was in 2016 when I took this blind man through a 24-hour world's toughest mudder. And it was an experience of a lifetime. And we've done 2 others since then together.
Yeah, that was an experience for all of us that witnessed that. So you guys are out there on the trail, the both of you, and you come across in the mud this lamp. You pick it up, you do what everybody does when they find a lamp, you wipe it off, and out pops me, the genie in the lamp. Been in there for millions and zillions and trillions of centuries. I am so happy that you guys finally freed me, that I'm not going to give you 3 wishes. I'm going to give you the ultimate gift. I am going to give you 2 the undivided attention of the world right now. In this world, in this moment, the world stops everything that they're doing and they're listening to the 2 of you. Starting with you, Joey, in this moment, what do you say to the world?
Sean, the first thing and the only thing that comes to my mind right now is just stop and be willing to help someone who needs it, please. Because you never know what someone is going through, and you might save that person's life. That's a tough one.
Zackary? What do you say in this moment to the world?
Whether it's out on the race course and people are saying, I don't know if I can keep up with you, I don't know if I can do it, and I'd say to them, can you keep up with the wheelchair? That people are holding on to. I've been on these courses where someone's holding on to a tree and they're feeling they can't go any further, they can't do this, they've signed up for this, and there's no way they're going to get done. and then they look and they see, you know, an amputee as the horse pulling a wheelchair with a bunch of people, somebody maybe signing to somebody, this group saying, I'd say to the world that you can keep up if you lift other people up. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking about you're going to get stuck. So I would say to everyone, we can make the world a better place when you're stop thinking about what you can't do and you begin to think about what can I do for others. So it is in service that we're free.
That's right.
Well, guys, thank you for this. I am so happy that the two of you are with each other, because from both of you guys and Zackary, we've known each other for a while. It always seems like when I see you, your face is smiling, you know, and I think that's reflecting what's going on in your soul. The both of y'all have just a foundation of positive. And that's what I get from both of you when I'm around you, man. Joey, it's like that energy you have. It makes me want to just, I can climb a mountain, man, with you by my side, you know? So thank you guys for this. I hope more people get to feel you too in this world.
Thank you for taking all of those calls all these years. You've been a huge piece of, that's why you got knighted, is that you have been an encouragement to me in some dark times and have helped me believe that this was doable. I mean, even when it was just an idea, you're like, that's a good idea. Those are good words. And so that the Mirror Man, you have been reflecting back to us for years. And the thing about a mirror is that if you focus the light of the sun, you can start a fire. And I think when I think of that Tough Mudder fire thing of running through it, Sean, you have been a tremendous piece. You have been this consistent voice that we replay in our hearts. I get excited when I go up to the starting line, when I know that you're going to be there and you're standing up on that ladder and bringing it in. Even my dog's barking and getting excited. My dog is a service dog that doesn't bark, but when you start talking, she wants to join in. So thank you for believing in us. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for lifting so many of us up at the start of these races that we get to finish, and then we get to bring that experience back into the world with a sense of humor and a sense of joy. So keep on reflecting the light, man.
Go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
You take it.
Joey.
We love you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why you're a knight. You mean,
I'm going to edit it out.
You're one of us.
It's not about me.
Yeah, hey, I tell you what.
In the picture, here's a little teaser. Wait. Here's a little teaser for the knighting thing. My buddy said when he saw the picture, it looked like you were saying to me, give me back my wallet. So if anybody, when that picture comes up and you see me getting knighted, it was an honor.
It was an honor. You're one of us. You've been the voice. I remember many long conversations with you over the years, and you've introduced me to so many people. And that's what you do behind the scenes. You lift other people up, and so it's good. People need to know that's and you're doing it right now. So reach out to us, show up, get muddy, and when you get muddy, you actually get your heart more clean.
That's right.
More heart
than scars.
More heart
than scars.
You can find Tough Mudder on Facebook and Twitter. That will be @ToughMudder, or on Instagram, also @ToughMudder. Please remember you can find this podcast, No Excuses, on wherever you listen to podcasts. Guys, subscribe. Let me know what you like, what you're not liking, and I will be including you as much as possible and even more in the future.
Inspirational.
Be inspired.
Inspire.
No excuses.
Motivational.
Be motivated.
Motivate. No excuses.
No whining.
No quitting. Overcome.
No excuses.
Community. Teamwork.
Tough Mudder.
Tougher together.
No excuses.